Hey there, fight fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode of Combat Sports Talk. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is George G-Money Stallworth. What's up?
What's going on, bro? How you doing tonight?
I am amazing. I am so ready to talk about one of my favorite sports, mixed martial arts, focusing on UFC, Bellator. Freaking, we got what? We got bare knuckle FC tonight. We got UFC tonight. We've got some submission grappling tonight. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Really? All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's handle this.
All right. Well, you for those of you who are
before
watching,
we do go there though,
yeah,
I can't help but miss the John Key moments of just random facts. You got one for me, man? Before we get started, anything?
So okay. Well, here's a random fact. So here's a little thing. I have really started spending a lot more time on TikTok. I really want to take this show onto TikTok. I think that there's an opportunity for us to be able to put great content out for people in those little bite-sized 1 to 3 minute snippets. And so I've been trying to learn as much as I can. And one of the things I learned off of TikTok is that an orange isn't always orange. Sometimes oranges, fully ripe oranges, are green, and it has to do with where it's grown. So if it's grown in the United States, typically oranges are either yellow or orange in color. But if you go a little bit closer to the equator, what you find is that because of the direct sun and the amount of sunlight that an orange gets, it will actually grow green. So green on the outside, orange on the inside. You take that orange, you move it up a couple of parallels to the United States, and that green orange becomes orange. There you go.
We've had this conversation.
This
brings up an interesting thing, man. I think we should get what's his name, Richie.
Yeah, we should get Richie from Lion in the Crown. So George and I we frequent a bar here in Allen, Texas, called Lion in the Crown. The Lion and Crown is actually the official name of it. And so we have a friend who who visits us from time to time and throws at us some of these ponderings of the world, these questions that really have no answer, but they're great conversation starters. Like the most famous one of them all, is water wet? Is water wet? Definitively, water is wet. Don't come at me because I got the answer. I can prove it to you. Just don't even come at me.
Right. You can prove it, huh?
I can prove it. Like logically, I can prove that water is wet. If you really want to come at me, hit me up on social media and we can go at it. Just know that once I'm done with you.
You asking for the dogs to be unleashed.
Remember what we said. Between the two of us, which one of us wakes up at 7 o'clock looking for a debate?
That might be you.
Looking to pick an argument with somebody. Like, yeah, come at me. Like, if you want to talk MMA, we can go MMA. You want to talk about whether water is wet, whether a hot dog is a sandwich? I got you. Hot dog is not a sandwich, by the way. Hot dog is not a sandwich.
Texas chili doesn't have beans in it either.
Texas chili does not have beans, but that has been corroborated across the state of Texas. Everybody knows once you cross the Red River, once you cross the Rio Grande, once you cross the Sabine River, or you cross the border into El Paso, you no longer are allowed to have beans in your chili and call it Texas chili. Call it something else. Call it chilish. I don't care. But you put beans in your chili, it's no longer chili in the state of Texas. Anything else you want before I start talking about? Like, you got me all fired up now. Like, what did you do? Did you do this on purpose? Really?
I'm already on the drink game. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and drink right now, and get some names out of the way. Jon Jones. Factory
right.
X.
Yeah, if you're playing the drinking game, George is trying to get you, doesn't want you to get through the end of this show.
Conspiracy theories.
Street Fighter 2. Oh man, what else?
Kalechi and your belt.
That's right. That belt that's up here. Look, boom, that belt right there. That's another drink.
Got it.
Yeah, we buried the hatchet, and burying the hatchet, he was kind enough to give me the belt, and now I have it mounted on the wall. But let's get into it. Speaking of belts, there are two light heavyweight fighters who are chasing Jan Blachowicz for that belt, and that is Thiago Marreta Santos and Johnny Walker, and they were facing off at UFC Vegas 38. This is the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we talk about the fights from Saturday night, UFC Vegas 38, Santos versus Walker, Saturday, October 2nd, 2021 at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. There were 5 fights on the card. Alexander Hernandez versus Mike Breeden. Hernandez defeated Breeden via knockout punch at 1 minute and 20 seconds of round number 1. That fight went fast. Alexander Hernandez is not someone you want to trifle with. He is just not a guy that you want to take even a little bit slightly. Like, this is a guy that I think is going to be a future contender in the next couple of years. Misha Circunov versus Christophe Jotco. Christophe Jotco defeated Circunov via split decision. Very close fight. Alex Oliveira fell via unanimous decision to Nico Price. Hopefully Nico's starting to get his act back together. He'd been a little bit left of center, if you will, or maybe right of center, just not on center. It kind of really started off whenever he had the draw with Cowboy Cerrone, and he was just like, oh my God, I tied Cowboy Cerrone, when he could have won, but he kept kicking Cowboy Cerrone and kept having illegal strikes. I think he struck Cowboy in the groin like 3 times in one round or something like that. Or maybe it was eye pokes. I don't remember exactly, but he had a point deducted. He would have won otherwise, but he was still excited for his draw with Cowboy Cerrone. He finally got back in the win column with a unanimous decision over or Alex Oliveira. Reason why I'm kind of rushing through this, because I want to spend more time on this next fight, which is the co-main event, Kyle Dawkis versus Kevin Holland. Of course, Kevin Holland is the hometown hero for us here in DFW. The Trailblazer was facing off against the one of the pride of Philadelphia, Kyle Dawkis, and this fight was very close. Both of them were landing the strikes that they had, and this is Kyle Dawkis is definitely one that is a tough contender because he's a jiu-jitsu specialist. Kevin Holland, of course, has his black belt in jiu-jitsu from Travis Lutter, but at the same time, Kevin Holland is more known for his striking. And Kyle Dawkis, of course, very tall, very long. This was a really good matchup for the two. Fight starts off, and they're circling. Kevin Holland lands an amazing leg kick. There's an instant welt on Kyle Dawkis' leg. Kyle closes the distance, starts to try to grapple, try to get this fight to the ground. And this is what's awesome. You can see the improvement in Kevin Holland's wrestling. Like, it's gotten better. It's gotten better.
Was he getting advice from DC or anything?
So here's the thing. So DC is like, oh my gosh, Kevin Holland, his grappling's getting better. And of course, in the Apex Arena, you can hear everything. So Kevin Holland is sitting there, got Kyle Dawkis with his arms wrapped around him, and they're fighting for underhooks and stuff like that. Kevin Holland's yelling out, "What do you think about that, DC? Yeah, I hear it's gotten better, hasn't it? It sure has." And so he's yelling out to DC while the fight is going on. DC's like, "Wow, man, Kyle Dawkis is can pose a problem to Kevin Holland because he's so long, because he's just a real long, lanky guy." And Kevin Holland's like, "He sure is long, DC." And it's like, come on, bro, you're in a fight. You're in a fight. and you're sitting there talking to DC. So Kevin Holland he got taken down just for a moment. He went down to one knee, was able to reverse the position, break apart, and as they broke apart, Kevin was going to engage. Kyle Dawkis was going to engage. Kevin takes a big swing with the left, misses, and as Kyle steps in to deliver a punch, their heads collide. And when their heads collide, you see Kevin Holland's eyes roll up in the back of his head. He falls face first on the ground. So normally in a fight, you would stop the fight because of the collision of heads. Clearly, there's an adverse reaction to the collision of heads. It was completely unintentional. But because of the adverse reaction, you should stop the fight and determine whether or not the fight should continue and give Kevin Holland an opportunity to recover or rule the fight a no contest. That didn't happen. What happened was when Kevin Holland hit the ground, Kyle Dawkis instantly pounced on him, rolled him over, and started trying to finish the fight. In that time, Kevin Holland, I would assume, woke back up and started grappling again, trying to stop it. But at the end of the day, Kyle Dawkis, this was his home turf on the ground, so he was able to secure a rear naked choke. And even though Kevin Holland fought valiantly, Kyle Dawkis was able to secure the rear naked choke and get the win. Here's the deal. Because Dan Mergliotta, who was the ref in that, wasn't sure what had happened, he called and he waved his finger in like a siren kind of a circle type of thing to declare that he wants a replay. So even though the fight had been ruled a victory for Kyle Dawkis, after the fight was over, Dan Mergliotta walked outside, was talking to Herb Dean, who was the replay official for that fight. So whenever you have a fight, you have one official watching the replay outside the ring, and then you have the traditional referee inside the ring. And so the conversation happened between Herb Dean and Dan Mergliotta, and he's like, listen, Dan Mergliotta says, I saw him fall out, but Kevin Holland rolled over and started fighting again, and so I didn't think that it had that the headbutt had been had knocked him out. He goes, that's why I let it go, because it happened so fast. So George, do you want to talk about, like, you're a referee? You want to talk about the difference between watching a fight from the outside as an audience member and watching the fight as a referee?
Yeah, so when you're refereeing, you have to take your own personal, I guess, nuances out of it altogether. You can't go off of the assumptions or the reactions that you see. You have to go off what you actually see. So if a guy says, "Oh, I was eye poked," and is reacting as if he was eye poked, and you didn't see it, you can't really call that. Or vice versa, if a guy is kicked in the balls or something like that, and you didn't see it, you shouldn't be calling it, even though that person may be reacting to that. So in that sense, Mergliotta was right. But if I remember correctly, I think you said immediately when it happened, he asked for somebody to begin to look at the instant replay. He called for someone to refer to the instant replay. Is that correct?
He did because the action happened so fast. Kyle Dawkis did his job jumping on Kevin Holland and trying to get this fight ended. And so because he wasn't sure what the impact of the headbutt was, he called for a replay. So let's talk about the value of replay. Go ahead.
Well, I think that is definitely the right call. But then at what point now do you rely on the replay?
Well, I think that it happens to, it comes down to it comes down to if there is dispute. If you're not sure and you can't confidently say that what happened in the ring, you don't want to be the reason why someone loses a fight. And I think that this is one of those cases where I think that Dan Mergliotta knew that he should have stopped the fight. And so the value of instant replay is the fact that he was able to go back and correct his decision.
All right.
Without the replay, Kevin Holland loses his third fight in a row.
I personally like the replay. Um, there's just gonna I can tell that the more and more it's used, it's gonna create some difficult decisions or some difficult choices for referees, officials, judging, scoring, and fighters. Because I mean, when you really look at what just happened here, Kevin, for all intent and purposes, was knocked out.
Yep.
So he was a damaged fighter no matter what after that
Right.
point, whether it was accidental or not. And so, how do you go back and fix that if a fight should go on or whatever? You know what I'm saying? What if this fight had been into the second or third round? Then they would have went to the scorecards. You get what I'm saying? And so that the dynamic of that fight got changed if we were in the third or fourth round and Kevin got hurt.
Yeah, but I think that in the case of a in the case of of this fight, the action that led to the finish was a direct result of an illegal strike. Now, even though it was unintentional, we know that that the headbutt, the collision of heads, which he saw, and he doesn't dispute, he saw the collision of heads. What he wasn't sure about was the impact that it had on Kevin Holland's ability to intelligently defend himself. Because in the moment, at the time, what he saw was Kevin Holland respond fluidly and start defending himself. When you go back and watch the replays, though, you can see Kevin Holland's eyes roll up in the back of the head. He falls forward and he is out.
So if you see a nut shot, you stop the fight no matter what, and you give that person their 5 minutes.
Right.
Why not the same? Why not the same with an accidental headbutt?
Because
I would almost say that the headbutt is a lot more dangerous to a fighter than
because the rule isn't that when there's an accidental headbutt that the fight is stopped. If you go back,
the rule is an illegal blow, and that's what that was. And a nut shot is an illegal blow. A headbutt is an illegal blow.
Traditionally, they have not stopped accidental collision of heads.
Oh, there you go. You on the side of the commission, aren't you?
No. Because the great thing about it is we've got a perfect example from last week. There was an accidental collision of heads between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. Alexander Volkanovski clearly clearly rammed his head with Brian Ortega's. The fight was not stopped. And
doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do.
Well, that's not what I'm arguing. But what I'm saying is, right now, the rule isn't that if I see an accidental collision of heads, that I stop the fight. I think the rule is if you see an accidental collision of heads, then you have to assess whether or not a fighter can intelligently defend himself. Clearly, Brian Ortega could continue to defend himself even after the collision of heads. And so, but what Dan Mergliotta saw was that Kevin Holland fell after the collision, but then rolled over and started defending himself. And so it appeared as though he was still with it. You know what I'm saying? Like he still could see what was going on, still make decisions, but he wasn't sure. And that's why he called for the replay. And I think that was a prudent decision, because when you have doubt and you've got this advantage of being able to run it back and look at the replay, it's great that he was able to fix the decision after the submission. So it almost worked out for the better, where he allowed the fight to continue. We got a result, which was a submission victory for Kyle Dawkis. We went back and saw that submission victory was a direct result of the accidental collision of heads, and so it was ruled a no contest. I feel like the system worked in this situation, and I'm surprised that there are people who are upset with how this played out. I think this is the most fair and equitable way that we could have resolved something like this, and I hope that Kyle Dawkis and Kevin Holland run this back and we actually get a true decision in this fight.
What I've heard, I've only seen highlights of this fight, is that Kyle was winning this fight. Is that accurate?
You know, I don't. You know how I am about like round one victories. Most times, it's really difficult to see if a guy is winning a fight in the first round. Like, I think it was pretty close. Kyle had a lot of control time on the cage, but it wasn't progressing, wasn't doing any damage. You know, Kyle landed a couple of good strikes. I think that you know, I don't know if we go back to the fight metrics what it would show, but I can't imagine that Kyle Dawkis, if he was winning the first round, that he was winning it by much.
Okay.
And that's the case with a lot of first rounds in the UFC. I mean, it's like first round usually is a close. Everything's pretty close because the fighters are fresh. They're still filling each other out, getting their range and timing and things like that. So unless there's some big strikes that are landed, it's really hard to tell who wins the first round. It's second and third round that really defines who wins the fight, right? So I would argue with people who say Kyle Dawkins was winning that fight. You can't say he was outright winning that fight. He might have had an edge because of control time. Maybe, you know, intangibles like aggression, but he definitely wasn't outclassing Kevin Holland in the first round. It just no. So there you have it. Like that was the big thing. Like, you know, the main event, Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. Santos defeated Walker via unanimous decision, 48-47 on all three cards. You know, that's a 3-2 victory. It was one of those things where Johnny Walker started out really great, really using his 6'6" frame to keep Thiago Santos at bay. But ultimately, Thiago Santos found a way to get inside, and I think he would appreciate the way that he was switching things up. And, you know, you always talk about create a pattern and then break a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the best examples was like in round number 2, Thiago Santos had been landing this leg kick, throwing this leg kick. And so Johnny Walker saw the pattern and was checking the leg kicks. And so Thiago Santos faked the leg kick and then turned into a left cross. It was beautiful. And just right down the pipe, blow, caught Johnny Walker. And it was that type of creativity and aggression that we saw in Thiago Santos that gave him the edge. Was it a fight where Thiago Santos was absolute the best? No, he won 3 rounds.
That Muay Thai black belt came in handy, is what you're saying.
That Muay Thai black belt. That's a drink, by the way. Take that drink. So Santos goes on. He was ranked number 5 in the light heavyweight division, so he was able to fend off number 10 Johnny Walker. I think that once we get the resolution between Jan Blachowicz and Glover Teixeira, I think we've got some opportunities to perhaps have Thiago Santos fight for that title, even though he's ranked at number 5. Because you've also got Anthony Smith. He's wanting to fight. I can't think of his name now. Nikia Krylov.
Okay.
And so he wants that fight. So I think if they get that fight, I have to look at the rankings of the fighters. I don't know that there's anyone other than Jan Blachowicz that he can really fight right now. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the situation that we're in. I'm pulling it up right now. Light heavyweight. Oh, I'm not. Oh, Krylov. Where did I get that from? Nikita Krylov. He's down there at number 9. I meant Alexander Rakic. Alexander Rakic is the one I'm talking about. So we've got Glover Teixeira at number 1, Yuri Prochazka at number 2. You could probably get a Thiago Santos versus Yuri Prochazka. I don't quite know if Prochazka has a fight booked yet. I'm trying to see if he's got. I don't see that he has a fight booked yet. So you could probably see Thiago Santos versus Yuri Prochazka because Anthony Smith is ranked at number 4. He wants Alexander Rakic. I think they're going to get that fight. And so I could see Thiago Santos versus Yuri Prochazka for a number 1 title eliminator. Mm-hmm. All right. Joining us right now is the man with the keys to victory, John freaking Keys. Woohoo! There he is.
Oh, snap. I thought it was going to be a great face for the entire show, but that's okay. I'm here.
No, I put you on.
I was flying on I-20 so fast that I had hair when it started, and now I'm like this. So, what's up? What I miss?
All right. Well, what you missed? We just went through the results of UFC Vegas 38. Do you have anything you want to add about the headbutt between Kyle Dawkis and Kevin Holland?
No, I don't actually. I do not have anything to add. I will say, when you guys talked about the main event, Mahete versus Walker? What was your analysis of that? And I'm really aiming at George on this one. What was your analysis of that? The attendance.
I've already had my drink for that MJJ. I'm sorry, that Muay Thai black belt tournament that we saw.
Yeah.
John, this is just for you. Sometimes I wonder if Muay Thai is thinking about me too.
Yeah. Notice it's a black coat. Notice it's a black mug that he's drinking out of that says that.
I saw that. No, I was more aiming towards the fact that they were using oblique kicks, and they were using a lot of leg kicks there. And as I was sitting there and I was analyzing it. Sorry about that. I know it made me think that they were both afraid of their power, if anything. I think they were both afraid of their power, and they were just like chopping limbs just to try and reduce the power. But that's all I wanted to point out there. Now, if I'm spiking, if I'm like
you're doing great. Okay. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of respect shown to each other's ability to finish a fight. And like I said, it really came down to the creativity that Thiago Santos showed in setting up some of his strikes that I think made the difference. At one point, Johnny Walker was actually winning in significant strikes, but even though he was landing significant strikes, Thiago Santos was landing the bigger, harder punches, and so it becomes one of those things where, and they talked about this during the fight, that because a lot of the Las Vegas Raiders football team was in attendance at the Apex Arena, every time a hard kick or hard punch was landed, they're all like, "Oh!" And it's like, if you watch the UFC, if you watch MMA, it's like, yeah, it was a hard strike, but you know that sometimes a strike could slap and sound really loud, but it doesn't actually hurt.
It's the thuds that are the most dangerous.
Yeah, the ones where it thuds. And so there may have also been a little bit of, having the crowd reaction that may have also swayed, in some of these close fights, whether or not Thiago Santos was given a round versus Johnny Walker. Once again, it was a close fight, 48-47. It was a unanimous decision. I think it was the right decision, but what do you think, John?
I honestly thought it could have been a tie, because looking at the numbers, there was really no pull away from either one. It could have, if they had ended that with a tie, I wouldn't have been mad. If to be quite honest, I was, I'm glad to see both of them back. I'm glad to see both of them are willing, were throwing, solid strikes. Like it was just like they respected each other's power, or they were afraid of each other's power. Which it could have been either one or both, for all I knew. That's all.
Right. So, one of the things that we didn't talk about is the fact that there was supposed to be an additional fight on that card, which was Aspen Ladd versus Macy Kierson. And it was canceled because Aspen Ladd, once again, who is a 135-pound fighter, but she don't weigh 135 pounds. She a big girl. And so she keeps having these bad weight cuts. And as a result, it keeps leading to her stepping on the scale and not having the strength to be able to hold herself up. And so they ended up canceling the fight. Aspen Ladd eventually blamed it on Macy Kierson, saying that she didn't want the fight. But if you go and watch the video of Aspen Ladd trying to make weight, she is shaking. They have her. She's overweight, 137 pounds to 135 pound weight limit. Of course, you get the bonus pound to make 136. So she's missed it by 2. And she was stripped completely naked. They had the blankets up. I mean, not the blankets, the towels up, the screens up to try to shield her while she stood on the scale, and she was literally shaking.
I mean, I want to make a kind of a joke there, but because I'm like, she's willing to die to make that weight, and Macy couldn't just jump in the ring and just finish her off right there. Now, I could say that, but that's tactless. Yeah, you can't if you can't make the weight. That's a fighter's job, is to make weight. That's one of their jobs.
Right.
It's to stay in shape, make weight,
and win fights.
And win fights. That's it. That's your 3 pillars. If you can't, and it's not, and nothing against Aspen Lad. All right, you maybe we need to find you, a fight promotion that has a weight class for 145. Maybe we need to go ahead and start looking at that. The UFC unfortunately doesn't have a 145 class. Don't ever think they will, because then you got Gabby Garcia out there trying to come in. But we don't want we that's another story, another day.
No, we're going to talk about Gabby Garcia tonight. But the thing is, Gabby Garcia, just so that you guys know, I got it here. It's on the run sheet. Gabby Garcia is 6'2", 209 pounds.
That's what I'm talking about.
So if Gabby Garcia can make 145, then she's on that George Stallworth diet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because see, look who's wearing. Wait, is that a tank top? That's a tank top, isn't it? Wow, we don't even sell tank top. What tank top is that? What tank top is that?
It's a Muay Thai. It's a Muay Thai tank top.
Muay tank top. Yeah, Muay Thai. I was like, I know Combat Sports Talk ain't got no tank tops like that.
Maybe we should.
I know, right? So he's cutting them out and making them. I mean, when was the last time you wore a full shirt? George, be honest.
Yeah, ever since he got one. Yeah, ever since George Stallworth lost to under 185 pounds, it's been tank tops and showing his midriff.
Yeah, tank tops and shorts. It was 40 degrees down here last week. What are you talking about?
Dude, I can't tell you how cold I do get though, John. Like, we really underestimate what body fat does to keep our temperature at an even keel. Man, I get cold so quickly right now.
No, yeah. I don't. I love my fat. Okay, me and my fat depart. It's gonna be like a love story, man. I mean, seriously, I'm gonna be crying and stuff.
Dude, there's been some nights when I've gone to sleep and I'm like, oh, why am I doing this, man? Literally, like, I'm wrapped up in blankets. The heat is on, and I'm still cold.
Man, wow. I got a poncho over here if you want it, dog.
You know how bad it's got to be that George Stallworth is got a heater on in the middle of a Texas summer. That's what I got to say. Like, you got to know he is suffering if he's got heat on and blankets in the middle of a Texas summer.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's only like 70. It's like what, 78 degrees right now outside. It's something like that, 78.
No, it's 68.
It got so bad the other night. I had to borrow a hoodie from one of my homegirls. Shout out to Nicole for letting me borrow that hoodie. I had to wash it and bring it back the next day. It was a little tight on me, but it fit and it kept me warm, man.
So there you have it.
He had to borrow a schmedium.
Yeah. I was walking around with a schmedium on.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. Speaking of that, I don't know what's going to happen to Aspen Ladd, because she has missed weight twice and dang near killed herself. She made weight once, and what they said was that she put on, like, she went from 135 to 156 like overnight in like 36 hours, something like that.
Wow, you mean, that's dangerous.
Hold up, she put it back on, you're saying?
Yeah. So by fight night, she was back up to like 156.
Wow.
And she still got finished. Because you can't make that, you can't do that to your body. You can't cut weight like that, dehydrate yourself, and then all of a sudden you're rehydrated, but you what have you lost in order to make that weight? I mean, that's the reason why we're
your brain is one of the last things to rehydrate through this process. And typically that's what happens is there's not all this fluid sloshing around in your brain to protect it when you get rocked or when you get hit. So your brain slams up against your skull, and it's like, okay, guess what? You don't want to protect us? Well, we're going to sleep.
Oh.
How you like them apples?
So one of the things that was really interesting with this Yahoo Sports article that I read is that they talk about ONE FC and how ONE FC weighs fighters multiple times during the week leading up to their bout, and then they test their urine for signs of dehydration. So ONE FC, I think, has a better way of ensuring that fighters don't get to this, DEFCON 5 kind of situation where they're physically unable to keep their skeleton upright because they're so dehydrated. So I hope that Aspen Ladd is able to find a healthy solution to her weight cutting problems. And
go ahead, sir.
Well, no. You have something to add to this? Because I'm getting ready to work a segue by Ryan Smith.
Oh, we trademarking that. Okay. I was just gonna say that if that maybe, like I said, she might want to look at a different promotion that actually has like a 145 weight division, because the UFC ain't got it. Guess what? They not the very best at it, at that division. Find a promotion, because Dana does not look favorably to people who are missing weight. So either tweak your diet to fit where you can fit down to a 135, or
All right, there you go. He trailed off. That means he's done talking.
Wow, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't really know.
No. All right, so let's go ahead and close the book on this one. Put this one on the shelf. This card is history. Now let's go into the headlines that are making waves in the MMA world. This is Finding the Angles. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we talk about those headlines, and we're going to talk about the number one headline, the thing that I want to talk about today, and that is Jon Jones. All right. Last week, we covered the fact that UFC star Jon Jones was arrested on misdemeanor domestic violence charges in Las Vegas. Of course, he got the felony for damaging a car. There were things that were said. Dana White said that, it's hard to bring this guy to Las Vegas for any reason. The city is not good for Jon Jones, and here we are again. White said that it's not shocking anymore. When we bring him here, it's almost expected. We can't even get him to Las Vegas for less than 12 hours to induct him into the Hall of Fame. It's a problem. This guy's got a lot of demons. So we talked about that. But what we didn't have at the time were any details. We did not have the police report. And so after we recorded the show on last Sunday, the police report came out. And we started getting details around the story. And so that's why I'm bringing this back up as a headliner, so that we can talk a little bit about what's going on with Jon Jones and what may have happened that night. So we're going to go back to Friday night. And we're going to go back to Friday night, and the UFC, it was International Fight Week. They were inducting people into the Hall of Fame for the UFC, and Jon Jones was there to be inducted into the Hall of Fame for his fight versus Alexander Gustafsson. Okay, so after that, the award ceremony, basically he goes back to the hotel, and it's understood that when he went back to the hotel, he was going to go back out to the club. And he went home to get $10,000 out of the room. Now, we understand that he came back, and around 5:00 in the morning, his wife comes downstairs, and she is bloodied, and she's got one of her children with her, and she's asking for a new room key. And so, because they see her face, they see that she's swollen, they say, "Is everything okay?" She breaks down, And while she's breaking down, the child that is with her asks if they can call the police. So that's when the police come on scene, and so they basically start questioning her as to whether or not she had been abused in any way, which she says no at first, that basically the bloody nose is a result of dry desert air, and that she has the bloody nose from that. But then she acknowledges the fact that maybe he had pulled her hair or something like that. At that point, they go and start trying to find Jon Jones. They find him walking, they find him walking down the strip, I guess. And as they bring him in, he is upset because, of course, they they're arresting him on, one of the greatest nights of his life. And while they have him in cuffs, the report says that he mused whether or not if they took the cuffs off, if he could take out all of the cops at the same time. And then
I'm sorry to cut you off right there. That's a very important point, which I'll bring up later. But go ahead.
Okay. And then while under restraint, he slammed his head into the cop car, creating a dent. And so that's why he's got the felony. It's not vandalism, is not the term that they use, but the
injury
felony
to a vehicle.
Injury to a vehicle.
I just want to point out the irony that beating his wife is a misdemeanor, touching a car is a felony.
So this is why it is a misdemeanor, because of the fact that when the police questioned her, she did not give them details. She would not say what happened to her. They cannot arrest. They cannot file a felony charge if they don't have the evidence. And she was not willing to talk. She was not willing to take photos. She was not willing to do anything to assist the police in being able to build a case to charge him. Now, I know that you've got experience in this, and I'm gonna let you finish. But
all right, Kanye.
But her unwillingness to provide evidence to the police, other than the fact that she had a bloody nose, looked like a busted lip, that's all they had to go on.
I'm not speaking so much in terms of what they did or didn't have to go on, because they charged him with domestic violence in the end, regardless. But what I'm upset about is the fact that a domestic violence charge is not seen as an equivalent to headbutting a vehicle. That's a problem. That is a problem.
That is a very big problem, and it's one of many. But understand this: the reason why, and this is speaking from a paralegal side, okay, that the reason why that they gave him a misdemeanor to the domestic violence rather than and gave him a felony to the cop car is because they bear witness. That's the difference. If they had bear witness
felony
to him,
y'all forget y'all talking to former law enforcement here. Felony versus misdemeanor.
Okay, I mean, it's that's the only difference. Is that they sat there and they bear witness to him headbutting the car, which to me is totally just a crap charge. But it is what it is. I'm like, give him every felony.
I get it. They definitely should have charged him with the damage to the vehicle. I totally get it, and it's the bigger charge. It's probably the one that he's going to wind up convicted on. But it doesn't mean they couldn't have charged him with felony battery or whatever the case. Regardless of the evidence they have there before them, the fact that she's bloodied, the fact that they were called, the police can make those kind of decisions in a domestic dispute like that. One, they're not going to let anybody go back home together. Someone's going to jail that night, regardless of if it was the wife, him, or who. Charges can be dropped later, amended later, the whole nine. It's hard to scale up, easy to scale down in a charge. What they should have done is fought or found whatever it was that would have made it a felony, and really went ahead and did that, and let the DA do his job and decide what the charge should be afterwards. But starting out right out the gate, that should have been a felony. And Matt, if I'm a woman right now who's ever suffered domestic violence, and I hear that this man beat his wife, got charged with a misdemeanor, hit a car, and got charged with a felony, that speaks volume to my self-worth. That speaks volumes to Jon Jones' wife, self-worth. That speaks volumes to that child that was involved and told adults to call the police. There's a lot of things out of place and wrong with this whole scenario. And don't get me wrong, Jon Jones is the cause and the impetus and the start of all of it. But we need to start making better decisions and doing better by people, especially when it comes to domestic violence charges. We've seen too many people killed as a result of our lack of seriousness when we encounter these situations.
Totally agree.
Well,
I
yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah, and you got Sonia out there listening right now, and she completely agrees with you as well. And so she says, "Thank you, George," and she gives you some hand claps there. You know, I think that what we're talking past each other just a little bit. So I don't think that anyone here says that the charge should not have been a felony.
No.
I think we all agreed that the charge should have been a felony. I think what we're trying to do is to make sense of why it was a misdemeanor.
I'm telling you why. Las Vegas police, UFC,
Yes.
all these things. And I'm sure there was some cop who was like, you know what, I'm not letting him get out that easy. We're going to hit him with the felony on the car. But
And that makes sense.
I would be hard pressed for anyone to find a reason to tell me a legitimate reason why it wasn't a felony and it was a misdemeanor.
You know,
Now,
I
George,
think that go ahead.
Now, George, when I said what I said, that's why I'm saying that was the only thing that actually made sense to me. As far as I'm concerned, you're right. They could have made the call and say, you know what, we got more than enough evidence here that says that he attacked her. Okay, and you're right. They should have threw it all at him. All right, because this but it's scary that yes, that Nevada, that Las Vegas Police Department actually basically told his fiance that you're not worth that much. Okay, but
our cars,
the scarier thing.
Go ahead.
But I was going to say the scariest part, though, that everybody, I don't know if everybody's really understanding, is that the child was the one that said, "Can you call the cops?"
Yeah,
that's the scariest part there, because when she said that. That only tells me, well, it tells me a lot of things. Number one, this isn't the first time that Jon Jones has came to blows with his fiance. For the simple fact that she was sitting there able to just defend him like that. That's a number one red flag for abuse. Number two, when the youngest child sits there and says, "Can you call the cops?" That tells me right there that all the children have bared witness to it.
Okay, so now we're gonna do some research here. So I'm just on a website, and what it's saying is that a first time battery domestic violence charge is typically a misdemeanor in Nevada.
What I'm speaking to is we need to change laws in regards to stuff like that. Especially when you got other laws on the book that say if I hit a car for the first time, that's a felony. Yeah. That's all I'm saying is that needs to be looked at and adjusted and corrected, because that is so wrong on so many levels.
I think that and I forgive me for taking this side of defending the indefensible. Mm-hmm. Once again, I'm trying to make sense of what happened and why it is. And so you don't also want to have something where you have to have the laws that are able to be scaled. You have one incident where you lose your temper, you turn and you're trying to walk out, maybe you're grabbed, you spin and your flailing arm hits your wife or your fiance. It leaves a bad mark. Neighbors hear it, they call the cops, and now you've got a first-time battery, but it's a felony.
Bruh, the first time he hit that car, guess what they charged him with?
Right, because you have to think about the fact that it's not the fact that Jon Jones hit the car, it's the fact that in other instances when police property is damaged because somebody is vandalizing a car, there's a law out there that makes that a felony so that you don't get somebody who's vandalizing a police car. And so that is the statute that activated when he slammed his head and left what is called a medium-sized dent in the car. It's not the fact that it's connected to the domestic violence. There's a statute there of protecting the police car for other reasons.
I totally get what you're saying. You're saying the two aren't connected, and this statute exists at this level for this reason, and this statute exists at this level for this reason. All I'm saying is now that these two statutes are seen in conjunction with each other, it is a huge discrepancy and a wrong to human rights. And it's clearly visible. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, that they, that the Nevada police got it wrong now. What I'm saying is those laws need to be looked at and changed. And I get what you're saying also. There's instances where men are charged with domestic violence and it shouldn't be. That plays out in court for the most part. Don't get me wrong. I know there's some instances where it doesn't and it goes the wrong way. I've been on the tail end of a situation like that. But what I am saying is we see the discrepancy in what's going on in these two particular laws and statutes. And it tells women they are not important. It tells children they are not important. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But he could also get 6 months in prison for that.
I digress, and we can move on. We've spent enough time on Jon Jones, his debauchery over the years. I'm almost to the point where I feel like we shouldn't even discuss Jon Jones negative news anymore, but we almost have to because it brings light on subjects like this.
Yeah, I think the conversation is what we need. I think is valid for our show, and it fits the ethos of our show. For me, it's looking at it and saying, how can this be seen as a misdemeanor while the car is damage to the car be seen as a felony? That discrepancy is something that needs to be discussed and is horrific. And that's why I'm saying no one's disputing the fact that there is a discrepancy and it should not have been that way. However, it is important to understand how the laws are written and why it was a misdemeanor, and so we know it was a misdemeanor because it's a first time domestic battery offense. That's why it was a misdemeanor. Whether or not we should rewrite those laws so that, depending on, prior of laws that he's broken or things like that, maybe you give the latitude to the police to make it a felony, but based upon the law as it is, it's a 3 strikes you're out kind of thing. And you have to be convicted 3 times in order to, or you have to be convicted twice, and on the 3rd time it becomes a felony. So I think that sheds light on the fact that this is a conversation that we need to discuss and bring and shed light on.
And if I may add to that, it does fit the ethos because now we got to start asking questions about these fighters. When we see fighters like this, we ask ourselves, can we separate the man from the skill set? We have here a fighter that's one of the greatest to ever do it, but he does this. Yeah. So can we separate the fighter from that man? Okay, so, can we separate, can we do that? And so I for one can't.
There is a statute within the law around aggravating factors, and so you can make it a felony if it resulted in substantial bodily harm, but no deadly weapon was used. You can make it a felony if it was with a deadly weapon but no substantial bodily harm. and you can make it if both of them are used, where it's deadly weapon and substantially bodily harm. You also can get a Class C felony if it involves strangulation, which there were not signs of that. So it almost was that perfect storm where Jon Jones did just the right amount of domestic violence to get a misdemeanor and not the felony. Here's the thing. Here's why we're still going over it. Because shortly after this report was released, a video of Jon Jones and his fiance appeared on YouTube and started making its rounds on social media where they are kissing in the car, and then he makes a face sticking out his tongue out at the camera. And I think that is something that is even more disheartening, not only because of the fact that the way that his fiance responded to the police, even though she was asking for a new key, which Chael Sonnen had a great video where he talks about he thinks that she was trying to change the room key so that Jon Jones could not get back in the room.
Right.
We know that the child is the one who asked for the police to be called, which indicates that this is probably something that has happened multiple times and no police has been called. We also consider the fact that now that they made this video where they are supposedly kissing and making up or whatever, just doesn't seem consistent with what happened on Friday night and then what was released on Monday or Tuesday. And that seems more consistent with that of a battered woman and how we've seen in in history and in your Hallmark movies and all of things like that, where she doesn't feel safe in speaking out.
Right.
And so therefore, I hope someone in her family, I hope someone close to them are able to talk to her and at least get her removed from the house so that things can be cleared up. Because we know how this story ends.
Yeah, we do.
So there's a question that came in from Sonia. I want to pop on the screen. Wouldn't a professional fighter's hands be considered a deadly weapon?
May I take that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
So there's this common myth out there that fighters' hands are fighters have to be registered as deadly weapons or something like that. I don't know where this originally came from, but I surmise what happened is in most states there's a commission, and in order to fight, whether amateur, professionally, or in a combat sports zone, you have to be licensed by that state's commission, or you have to obtain a fighter's license or a fighter ID. Somewhere along the line, what happened was somebody took that experience or that particular thing and equated that to being licensed as a deadly weapon. The two are not. What happens is you have to register as a fighter in order to be allowed to fight in certain states. You have to obtain a fighter's license. And so somehow people are equating that with being registered as a deadly weapon by the state.
So yeah, my guess is if we were reading the actual law, it would define what a deadly weapon would be. Probably would not constitute, a trained fighter as a deadly weapon. So yeah, that's probably what one of the things that kept it as a misdemeanor. So now that we've go ahead.
In most states, there are nuances in the law or allowances in the law to allow other aggravating factors to pop up because the law can't foresee every instance that happened. When that law was probably written, it couldn't foresee that a professional fighter with 30 plus fights and the ability to strangle someone to death would be involved in a situation like that. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times laws aren't as forward moving as society is. So again, that goes back to one of those things where maybe it should be looked at.
So there you have it. I recommend going out and watching Chael Sonnen's video where he talks about it's called Chael Sonnen, the Jon Jones situation got a whole lot worse. I like the way that he wrapped it up I think that he also addressed a lot of the same concerns that we have about the discrepancy between the act against a human being and the act against an inanimate object like a police car. It's those types of things that I think make this a relevant story for us to talk about in UFC and in MMA world because of the fact that we see this. Remember War Machine?
Yeah.
Remember even what's his name who's still in trouble, Mayhem Miller. Like you've got a lot of these fighters who are acting out, and we need to be able to make sure that there are things that are taking place to help these fighters rehabilitate whatever it is that's causing them to do what's happening. Because I don't know the name of Jon Jones's fiance. I'm sure we could look it up and find it. But whatever she is going through right now, there needs to be an intervention, and those children and her need to be protected. Because my guess is that this isn't the first time. Even though this is the first time the police have been called out, this is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. One of the fallouts of Jon Jones getting arrested is that he is no longer ranked number one as the UFC pound-for-pound number one fighter. Kamaru Usman takes over that role. And I believe as of today, I know on ESPN's top fighters, Jon Jones is no longer on the list. Looking at the pound-for-pound, Jon Jones is still number 2 on the UFC's list, but he is no longer number 1. John Keys, you were like, what did Kamaru Usman do to earn the number 1 spot? It's like, it's not what Kamaru Usman did, it's what Jon Jones did, and that is get arrested.
Well, okay, let's talk about that, because you may seem like I was just like, he didn't deserve that. Kamaru Usman deserves all the rankings. He needs to be ranked number 1 through 5, okay? I'll be quite honest, because he's a bad man. He's a very bad man. Jon Jones, he is the epitome of Black Air Force energy. Okay.
Wait,
white Air Forces is for slanging, black is for banging, and he is the worst. He has Green Ranger negative energy.
Man,
okay?
You are throwing so many pop culture references that I am lost. What is Black Air Force and White Air Force? What is that?
Cause everybody knows if you have Black Air Forces, you ain't doing right. Okay?
You talking about Black Air Force Ones, the shoes?
Yes. Black
Air
Forces. Yes.
What if they're gray?
That's a shade of black there, Mister. How many Black Air Forces you got over there?
Listen, hey George. It only takes one drop of black paint to make White Air Forces black. That's John Keys just said it.
I might have some gray and black Air Force Ones.
Ladies and gentlemen of the combat world sports community, let it be said, George Stallworth has Black Air Forces. So watch your step. Okay?
Now his opponent on in October gonna drop. Yeah, we just lost the fight for you. I'm sorry. He gonna drop like, oh shoot, he's gonna walk to the ring in some Black Air Force Ones.
Do it. Just, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. How about this? Jon Jones is the epitome of the Green Ranger. How about that? Green Ranger energy. Anybody got a Green Ranger costume for Halloween? Anybody? If you do,
No.
You're wrong. Okay. And we're not talking about the good Green Ranger. Oh no, we're talking the evil Green Ranger, the one that jumped the Power Rangers and kicked them out their own Megazord. I mean, the one that was pimp handing the Yellow Ranger and the Pink Ranger. If you go back and watch the fight, you see he treated them two the worst. Okay, I can't explain it. I wasn't there to film it. Okay, I'm just saying it was there.
All I gotta say is I see the relevance to Jon Jones and the Green Ranger. I just did not know that the Green Ranger existed in that way. Like I'm sorry.
What?
I'm
Did
sorry.
You not watch Power Rangers as a kid?
I was too old to watch Power Rangers, and you're older than me, so I don't know what happened there.
Hey, hold on, man. We just hold on. You're just 2 days younger than me. Don't even play. Okay? You're just 2 days. Okay, I don't want to hear that mess. Okay, first of all, second of all, that's just what I do, man. I'm an uncle. I was an uncle at the time. I had to know what my nieces and nephews were watching. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm hitting the button right here. Here we go.
What you just heard is solely the opinion of the speaker and does not reflect the opinions of anyone else on the Combat Sports Talk podcast or anyone affiliated with this program.
You want me to hit
So-
this one because we're getting educated. You want me to hit this one right here?
This is your cultural awareness moment.
Green Ranger,
So the one,
Power Ranger,
the
pop
one
culture.
I thought you were going to hit was going to be "It's What I Do," the Obama clip.
Oh, there you go. It is what he does.
Yes. Okay. So okay. So Lapedia Light sat there and said that Jon Jones not fighting. No, it's Kamaru Usman putting away people in a very, very aggressive and final way that we're sitting there thinking, why is this person coming back to try and fight him? That's what Kamaru Usman does, and that's why he should definitely be at the top. I put him number 1 through 3. Everybody else is like,
Well, here's the thing: is the timing. The timing was odd, though. Jon Jones gets arrested. Next thing you know, Kamaru Usman's now ranked number 1. When Kamaru Usman's fight is not till November.
But guess what? If somebody called Kamaru Usman and said, "Hey man, this dude wants to fight you right now for the championship. Are you good for it?" What's the odds of him saying, "I'll be right down"?
He would be like, "Who is it?" First.
What if we sat there and said, Kobe says he don't want to wait till November, he wants to go right now? What's the odds of Kamaru be like, "I'll be right down"? Don't even just set up the ring in the parking lot.
No, I think Kamaru Usman would say,
I need to put some respect on my fucking name.
Yeah,
Oh,
that too.
man.
Yeah, that too. But yeah.
So yeah.
Okay,
So the UFC finally put some respect on his name. He is now ranked number 1 in the pound for pound rankings. And I think that is the right thing to do. He's been very active in the past few years. Jon Jones in his move to in his move to heavyweight, he has not been active in this year or in the year of 2020. I think he had one fight in 2019. So, it's like it's hard to rank somebody number 1 pound for pound when they've gone this amount of time without fighting. It's just real hard to do that. We all respect Jon Jones's skill. But the fact is that he's kind of in the no man's land. And, I think that he is facing irrelevance in the sport.
Oh! I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry. One more thing about Jon Jones. Remember when I said that when he sat there and mused that he wondered if he'd take these cuffs off, he'd take all of them down.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard him say that before. Where did we hear him say that at? When did we hear him? He said that to DC when he first met them. Okay, he said that the first time he met them. He's like, "I bet I can take you down." Okay, he has the ability to not humble himself for a man that has scriptures on his chest.
This ultimately is what Chael Sonnen said is Jon Jones is a narcissist and a sociopath.
Yes.
And he goes, rarely do you get to see a fully functioning sociopath. And according to Chael Sonnen in his video, Jon Jones is a classic example of that. Now, of course, Chael Sonnen has zero education or qualifications that allow him the ability to diagnose someone as a sociopath. But I do think that I'm buying it. Being a sociopath, there are functioning sociopaths leading corporations right now. So I'll buy the fact that Jon Jones is a sociopath and a narcissist. And that is something that a sociopath would do, is to say, listen, I think I could take you 5 or however many cops were on the scene. I take you all by myself right now.
And I hate to say this. No, I don't. I don't hate to say it because I'm going to say it anyway. If you ever watched the movie American Psycho and look at and watch that movie, and then you see some Jon Jones interview, tell me who's who. Don't even look at the picture. Just listen to watch the movie. Listen to the movie and then listen to Jon Jones interviews and tell me what's what. Tell me what's what.
To make those kind of claims, you got to be a bit of a psycho. And you know who else is a psycho? Amanda Levy. You know who Amanda Levy is?
What? Who is Amanda Levy?
Amanda Levy is the person who walked up to 6'2", 209-pound Gabby Garcia and said, "I'm gonna try to choke you out."
It
Amanda
did.
Levy is all of 5'6", 155 pounds. She's fighting somebody who is, what is that? 8 inches taller and 50 pounds heavier in Gabby Garcia, and Amanda Levy from the PFL dang near choked out Gabby Garcia and upset Gabby Garcia on points at a WNO Flow Grappling Championship in Austin, Texas.
Hey, who told us that we're all the same weight we're all the same size laying down? I mean, who said that? Was it DC? I think DC said that.
I don't know, but
I think DC said that we're all the same size when we're on the ground. So there you go.
Yeah, so Amanda Levy got real close to upsetting to choking out Gabby Garcia multiple times, and as the clock ticked down on their match and she had enough points to win, she couldn't secure the rear naked choke, but she was already celebrating before the time ran out, which I don't know if they do have to face each other again. I think that basically we'll see a bloody pulp, kind of like when Brock Lesnar fought Frank Mir the second time.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gabby Garcia in PFL next season.
No, she weighs too much. Like even in heavyweight, like she weighs too much.
Okay, so you need to take a page from the Ken Shamrock versus Hoyce Gracie Book of Revenge. He said it himself. He didn't care if he faced him in the ring, at the gym, or in the parking lot. He was going to find him. Okay,
Right.
He was going to fight. So Gabby Garcia, especially if you saw how Levy was sitting there and celebrating, and you saw the face on Gabby Garcia, that was a look like, oh, we gonna find each other again. And when we do, it's not gonna work right. It's not gonna be right for you. So
I just think that Gabby Garcia's neck is so thick that Amanda Levy couldn't pull off a rear naked choke. She just didn't have enough arm. Like she didn't have Gabby Garcia is just so big. Like if you haven't seen Gabby Garcia, go Google a picture of her. Like she is a giant of a person.
I mean, and you could, she's a big girl. I mean, her sparring partner is Chris Cyborg. Okay. That is our sparring partner and a ride or die. But I mean, you could see Levy trying to put the choke on, and I mean, she had it. She clasped it twice, this way and this way, trying to get it. And only thing that Gabby had to do was just put her chin in there and just like toss it away, and it was immediately away. So I mean, she was struggling, but hats off to Levy. Just don't celebrate when you're right there. I mean, the dragon's not dead. She was awake and she was coherent and she saw all that. You don't do that. I mean, even Craig didn't celebrate that hard when he knocked out Devo. That's all right.
That's a reference I get. That's the reference I get. Like Power Rangers, I don't get. Craig and Debo, I got it. That's Friday. I got you. Someone who might have celebrated a little bit too early was Paige Van Zant, who got into the bare knuckle FC. And I think that she thought because she's coming from the UFC, because she'd had success, she's kind of middle of the pack kind of a fighter coming into the bare knuckle FC, she was just going to walk through and just clean up folks. And what happened? She ran into Britton Hart. Britton Hart teed her up, and then she faced Rachel Ostovich. Rachel Ostovich got her. It's like now we don't know if Paige Van Zant is coming back to bare knuckle. She's starting to talk about she wants to come back to MMA.
So we're back to MMA now, huh?
Yeah. So just so that I am on record, I'm going to show you my surprise face. Like we didn't think that was going to end. We didn't think that it was going to end this way. Like seriously, like I said it. Go back and watch. Go back to when Paige Van Zant announced she was going to be fighting in BKFC. I told people, I said, Paige Van Zant not going to be successful in BKFC. Paige Van Zant don't know what she's getting into. She better go back to MMA. What is she doing? She going back to MMA. That's what she doing. That's what she doing.
I also want you to put some respect on BKFC for putting her out like that. Okay.
Right. You know what? Absolutely.
You know, because you weren't giving BKFC no
I
type
was
of
not.
props back
I,
then.
I did not give BKFC props, and frankly, I don't like the style of fighting in BKFC, but that's my own personal preference. That doesn't mean that it's not legitimate fighting. It doesn't mean that these guys aren't killers, because they are. And you saw it when Paige Van Zandt walked in that cage or walked in that ring, and she got lit up. Like, you're not playing around with folks that are geeks off the street, to quote Warren G. These are killers, and Paige Van Zandt found that out, and I knew that this wasn't going to be great for her.
No, not at all. And it is what it is. You tried. It was what it was. Sometimes you just can't be a boxer only.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, so now what are you going to do, Paige? Because if you're not going to make it in the BKFC, the UFC is not calling you back. They're not.
No.
You're running out of options, ma'am. I'm sorry. So we'll see what happens. Maybe she'll come back and fight one more for BKFC, but the likelihood of her going and trying to do MMA one more time may be all she's got, and that may be better for her. But
we'll see.
We'll see. So since we're talking about MMA, Paige Van Zandt was, of course, a better wrestler than a striker. And speaking of better wrestlers, Islam Makhachev was looking for an opponent. And Dan Hooker said, you know what? Rather than me go into quarantine in New Zealand, I think I'm just going to go by Abu Dhabi, fight one of the most feared fighters in my weight class, and just forego going back home for the rest of the year. Have you heard this story?
Yes, I have. Go ahead, George. Go ahead.
I hadn't heard this particular story, but I know City Kickboxing is looking for a location here in the States.
Yes.
I recommend Dallas.
I do too.
Well, no, not too close to Fortis, though, because there'll be beef.
I'm going to need you to quit hating, John. Let this happen.
Let there be beef.
No, man, not beef like that, man, because then, I don't want to be downtown Dallas, and then I see bodies in the streets, that's suffering from, leg locks and tackles and everything like that,
Listen, if you go downtown and you see bodies in the street, you're not going to be blaming Fortis. You're not going to be blaming City Kickboxing. You know who you're going to be blaming? George G Money Stallworth.
With them black Air Forces. Okay?
Black Air Force Ones. It's like, George must be wearing the black Air Force Ones today.
It's Tuesday. That means he done put them black Air Forces on.
It's Takeout Tuesday.
Gonna be trouble.
Trouble Tuesday. Oh man. Oh, but, I
have heard this story, and yeah, man, he's on a world tour of whooping butt. He said, I'm going to forgo it to go to Abu Dhabi and take on Islam, and I'll see my family when I see my family. I'm like, dude, that makes you the most dangerous, the most savage man in the UFC right now. Okay,
yep.
Because you're foregoing your family first to go and to do this, and I'm like, I hope he comes out victorious, because he is rolling the dice hard right now. Okay, he's rolling a hard 6. Okay, so
well, I mean, Islam Makhachev is not a joke. He is the training partner, or is the teammate of Habib Nurmagomedov, and you got another Dagestani gangster is basically picking up where Habib left off, and at the end of the day, this is going to be a difficult fight. But at the end of it, whether he wins or loses, I think Dan Hooker's going to go down in history as just that guy who was ride or die, ready to go. Okay, so
hold on.
I'm recording it. I'm putting that on wax. Like, we need the money, so I'm putting it on right there. Boom. Lepidolite said, if Hooker beats Islam Makhachev, I'll give you $100, each of you $100 for real. All right. We didn't say that if he wins, if Islam Makhachev wins, we're giving you $100, but we go ahead and accept that offer. Thank you so much. I know you're feeling confident, but now you just made me the world's biggest freaking Dan Hooker fan.
I know, right? Dan Hooker.
Here we go. Get on that hype train.
Hold on, let me find the hangman. Oh, hold on, I don't know if that's appropriate, but I'm gonna find me Dan Hooker. Hold on, just keep going here. I'm gonna get this because he is my hero right now.
Yeah, that's right, man. We are on the hype train. Dan Hooker. I can't wait to pick that fight because it's gonna be like I got Dan Hooker. I'll go ahead picking Dan Hooker right now. Lapidolite, don't you vanish. Like last time, I remember that time that you picked wrong and I was ready to hit that crow button for you. You didn't show up for 3 weeks. So I'm just saying, like, don't be hiding out when Dan Hooker pulls it off.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what we saying. Okay. All right. You did it. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Let me do it right. Oh, dang it. Where's the... Let me get that picture right because I found that picture. All right. Hold on. Here we go.
All right, we got a couple of other stories. I know you want to get to Dan Hooker, so we'll come back to it. You know, Dana White pulled some receipts, man, on Oscar De La Hoya. So after the UFC 266, the Oscar De La Hoya sent out a tweet that said, "Hey, Alexander Volkanovski, you just won a brutal battle for UFC and made 1/20th of what you're worth. Dana White has some respect for have some respect for yourself and these fighters and pay these warriors what they deserve." This is what Oscar De La Hoya said to Dana White. Dana White didn't like that. And you know Dana White is one of those punitive guys that just wants to go out and just mush your face in the poop, right? And so that's what he did. He pulled receipts. And so what he ended up getting and what he ended up doing is, look at that. Let me make you full screen real quick.
That's right. Love it, people. All right, Lapidolite, you are a hero. Thank you. Dan, we got faith in you, dog. Okay, we got faith in you. All right, go ahead. Continue on. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, you know, basically at a press conference, Dana White goes and pulls the pay rates of one of De La Hoya's promotions. And he's like, the entire card that De La Hoya put on, Alexander Volkanovski made more money just wearing the fight kit than you put on for your entire purse of a full card. He's like, don't talk to me about how much my fighters are being paid. If y'all don't like how much my fighters are being paid, start your own promotion, pay them whatever you want. He goes,
what's happening?
Well, I mean, it is what's happening. And he mentioned that. He goes, I hear that there's a new promotion starting up. They're going to pay their fighters differently. I wish them all the luck in the world. But we have a business model. That business model has been very successful, and we pay the fighters. They're getting paid more every single year. He goes, so let's not even talk about the fact that how much I get paid, how much I pay the fighters. Because when you look at people who are talking like De La Hoya, they're not paying the fighters what I pay them. He's like, all these people saying that they're not, that I should be paying more, let them start their own promotion. And all those people like Bob Arum and all of those other guys, let them show you their financials. They're not showing you their financials. They're just talking about mine. And I'm like, where's the lie, right? Because Dana White is right. He's like, they are turning the spotlight on the UFC, and they're talking a lot of crap about fighter pay for the UFC. But at the same time, we're not seeing the fight by fight financials for some of these other promotions as well. We're seeing aggregate information. We're seeing how much an individual fighter got paid. We're seeing pieces of parts, and we're being left to our own imagination of how the financials are actually working. But Dana White says, I put on 56 fights in a year. How many is De La Hoya putting on? How many is Bob Arum putting on? Because when you start looking at how many they're putting on and how many fighters they have on their roster, and how much they're making in total, and how much my fighters make, that's why they don't want to show you their financials, because then they would be proven liars.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, Dana, You pull receipts. You showed us receipts. Until someone else pulls out paperwork and shows what the UFC's got. Until someone pulls their own receipts and shows how much they're paying. I think I think we've reached the end of this conversation about fighter pay in the UFC.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree. I mean, until people, I mean, he's up the ante. You know, he said, okay, here's what we do. Anything less than this, and everybody needs to be quiet unless you're willing to pull your receipts. He's pulled his, you pull yours. Let's start comparing facts. He's actually made the challenge. Where y'all at?
So Lepidolite says, nah, it's not the end. No, it's not the end. Like, people are still going to complain, but it's just going to be rehashing the same argument. Like it's not. There's no new information here now. Now Dana White, like John said, Dana White has upped the ante. He's pulled the receipts. So now you're going to have to show some financials that show that Dana White is lying.
Well, here's the thing, okay? And once again, let's start looking at everybody's financials. If you're going to point at somebody else, point to yourself first. That's how you armor up in a debate. That if you're willing to go after somebody else, be willing to show what you're bringing in too. And then let's break it down.
All right.
And then that's what we do.
Well, that's the thing, is that the UFC is Dana White's baby. It's been his baby for the longest time. So he knows this game in and out. Like, maybe boxing financials are different. Maybe there's some other things. But when it comes to mixed martial arts, Dana White knows this because it's been his baby for 20 years or 25 years. And speaking of babies.
Oh, Lord, here he goes. Oh, is it time? Is it time?
It's time.
Oh, yeah, it's time.
I like that segue setup you had there, though.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I'll give you
that was pretty smooth. That was pretty smooth, boy. I bet you had some game back when you were younger, didn't you?
Not at all. Not at all.
I can't tell.
All of that was learned. It's what, they say that, what is it? Youth is wasted on the young. Youth is wasted on the young. Like, it was totally wasted. Like, yeah, I didn't come into my own voice until long after I had been married. So that's what happened. Ex-UFC champ Ronda Rousey announces birth of her daughter with Travis Hapa Brown. And of course, Travis Brown, being of Hawaiian heritage, he and Ronda Rousey named their child with a Hawaiian name.
Oh, really? What's that Hawaiian name, Brian?
Okay. Dang it. I had it. It's the first name and the last name is easy. It's the middle name that'll get you. So it's La'akia Brown. There you go. That's it. Woo! La'akia Brown.
Makalapu Oaki Kalanipo. I'm close. I don't know.
Yeah, so here we go. I had been practicing it all day. And so if we had done the show at 2:00, I'd have been straight and I'd have had it.
Yeah.
But I kind of a lot of things have happened since then.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if he gets lockjaw saying this name, don't worry, he's got some pineapple juice there. We got him saved.
Why I gotta be pineapple juice?
I'm just amazed that you won't even attempt to say it.
I'm going to, guys. Come on. Just
let's hear it.
Give me a second.
Pull up on me.
Pull up on me.
His wife is a nurse too, so he's gonna be okay. People.
I want to hear Ronda Rousey say it first, but anyway, here we go. Makala Kala Nipo.
Say it 3 times fast.
Makala.
You left.
Makala Pua. No, Makala Pua Kala Nipo. Makala Pua Kala Nipo. And just so that.
Pua o Kala Nipo.
Makala Pua Kala Nipo. Makala Pua Kala Nipo. Here we go.
You're forgetting the O.
Here we go. Because I came prepared.
Lakea Makalapua Kalanipo Brown.
That's how it's pronounced.
Say it
I'll
one
play
more
it again.
again.
Lakea Makalapuakalanipo Brown.
Makalapuo Kalanipo.
What is your source on this?
I found a website that specializes in pronouncing difficult names, and so this was one that they had. Lakia.
John, that's like Google Translate getting something right. Come on now.
Exactly. I was getting ready to say,
you
when did Google
you see that big O in there? You know that O is pronounced.
Yeah, that O is there.
It's Puo. It's Puo. Makala Puo Kalanipo. Puo. Puo Kalanipo. Makala Puo Kalanipo.
Because I was going to say, when did Google Voice get a deep,
No, it's a website. It's a website. I'm not gonna link it in the description. Actually,
okay, so
I think it's linked right here.
Okay,
Nope, I didn't link it. I didn't put the link.
So, guess what? That long name right there, that long middle name, it actually has a meaning. It has a rough translation. Okay, believe it or not, it's not just baby tooth. It's actually it doesn't translate to child's getting an arm bar at 3 years old. No, it doesn't translate to that. It actually translates to sweetest of the heavens, roughly translated.
All right, so Lakia Makalapuo Kalanipo Brown, welcome to the world. Your mom can beat up your dad. Just saying. Going to the last segment of the day.
Easily. Okay.
Easily. He might be tall. He might be strong. But I'll take Ronda Rousey over Travis Brown in a fight. As long as she's not striking.
Oh, man.
Just go for the arm bar, Ronda. Just go for the arm bar.
Wow.
All right, let's go to our final segment of the night. That is the fight card. All right, this is the fight card. This is where we talk about the fight on Saturday night, and that is UFC Vegas 39, Dern versus Rodriguez. Because she is Brazilian, so we're going to pronounce the R as an H. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Saturday, October 9th, 2021, Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got 5 fights on the card. Jamie Pickett versus Loreno Staropoli. We've got Lupito Gonines versus Sam Hughes. Alexander Romanov versus Jared Vandera. Damon Jackson versus Charles Rosa. And then Mackenzie Dern versus Marina Rodriguez. So I think we should just make the flash fight pick on the main event. I'm not familiar with a lot of the other fighters on the main card.
We got a hometown hero and Damon Jackson on the card, though.
Okay.
He's out of Fortis.
Hey. We got it.
All right. So we're gonna definitely support the hometown hero and Damon Jackson.
Ooh.
So let's go through and make those picks. Mackenzie Dern versus Marina Rodriguez. John Keys, who you got?
Dude, I think I'm gonna go with Marina Rodriguez. I'm looking at their fight records and looking to see who they've been beating on, and I think Marina may be onto something there. So.
All right, George Stallworth.
I'm going with Marina as well. She got that black belt in Muay Thai.
Yeah, exactly.
Drink.
Oh,
Take that drink. Take that drink if you're playing along. All right, since you guys,
we ain't nothing. Boy,
I'm gonna make the Lee Corso pick. You're all on Marina Rodriguez. I'm taking Mackenzie Dern. She's a freaking prodigy, y'all. Like, what are y'all doing?
Okay,
like,
let me tell you.
The only threat that Mackenzie
go
Dern
back and watch Marina's fights.
Yeah.
Does Marina already have a win against Mackenzie Dern?
I'm gonna need you to go back and watch.
No,
Marina's
she don't.
fights.
So it don't matter.
Mackenzie
Dern.
Mackenzie have a win against Marina?
She will on Saturday night.
Oh.
I mean, let's look at this. All right, let's break it down here because we're looking at Marina, and it's like we see that she's been beating on people, but Mackenzie here only has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, and her under Jason under Wellington Megaton Diaz. All right, he is a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter under Hoyler. Okay, so there you go. So I may be wrong. I'm going against my better angels here, and I'm still sticking with Marina. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna still stick with her against better
How many
angels.
how many 5-round fights has Mackenzie had? Does anybody know off the top of your head?
None. But you know why? Because the fights don't make it that long.
Oh,
How many 5-round events has she been a part of?
None, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
And wait a minute. One question: when did she get it? Because I'm seeing that she has a purple belt of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a dark blue with black tip belt in Muay Thai. So
what?
Hey man, I'm just here to. I can't make this up, man. Okay,
a dark blue. What?
A dark blue with black tip belt in Muay Thai. So not necessarily there.
Are you serious? She got a belt in Muay Thai. Are you talking about a Prajid?
No. I'm looking. It says belt, not a Prajid, a belt. So I can't make this up, guys. I promised y'all I would never make it up because it's too funny. All right, but yes, please don't come for me. Brazilian Muay Thai fighters, do not come for me. I am fragile. Okay, I do shoot. I will shoot y'all. I'm not gonna lie, because you guys are gonna kill me. All right, so there's that.
I can't wait till we really start seeing, this what would you call it, an anagram, or what is it when you have letters for it? It's going to be BMT, Brazilian Muay Thai.
Yeah, it's
what?
that's an anagram.
Hold on. Yeah, y'all playing.
No, we're not. This is serious.
Okay, hold on.
It's going to have to be some distinctions made, because just hearing that there are belts in Muay Thai in Brazil is all I can think is that I know here in the States, a lot of schools who come from more of a Dutch style kickboxing, they may award rank based upon the colors, kind of like a belting system like that. I know one school uses like the color of your T-shirt. So when you come in and you join this school, and it is a fight school, but your rank as a striker is shown by what color T-shirt you are awarded for class.
Interesting. Very
so, but again, that's a kickboxing school. It's not a Muay Thai school.
Oh, okay.
And so I wonder if the same thing is being done in Brazil. These are actually like striking schools or kickboxing schools, and because it's striking, we're equating it to Muay Thai.
I found something. I found something for you guys. I actually found it's the armband. The armband is a ranking system.
Right. It's called a Prajid.
Yes, I found it. I found several actually. Okay, I found several of them.
All right.
So we're gonna have to show this after. I'm about to bring these.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. I think that the number one thing that we're going to hinge. I'm hinging my bet on for Mackenzie Dern is the 62% takedown defense that Marina Rodriguez has. 62%. This fight's going to the ground. She gonna get submitted. There you go.
Ooh, wow.
The 62% what?
Takedown defense.
And so what you're saying is she won't be able to stop Mackenzie's takedown.
She's not going to. She's not gonna be able to stop it.
Has Mackenzie Dern fought Michelle Watterson?
I think Michelle Watterson is running from Mackenzie Dern.
Oh, okay.
I'm messing with you. I don't know. I'm looking it up.
Michelle Watterson, you heard that, right? If you
let her fight Mackenzie Dern. I mean,
well, no, Marina has a win over Michelle Watterson. Even Marina's not some slouch. I think you guys are not giving Marina her full credit.
I'm giving her full credit. She's a black. I'm sorry, black belt. She has a belt in jiu-jitsu and a belt in Muay Thai. So I'm not taking nothing away from her. I think that there might be a problem. There might be a problem.
So I just want to say this before we go: having a belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu everybody who walks into a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school has a belt. It depends on what color. So don't just say she got a belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What color is her belt?
Okay, I'm getting ready to say you might want to hit that button there because we are surrounded by too many jiu-jitsu schools to be saying that. Dude.
What color is Rodriguez's belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, I think it's purple. It's a purple belt.
Not good enough. Needs to be black,
And
like Air Force Ones. There you go. That's what I do. That's what I do. Let me hit that button.
I was gonna say, yeah, go ahead, hit the button.
I get that full. I get it. I get that full circle. There you go. Hey guys, follow us on social media on Combat. On Instagram. I'm at Combat Sports Talk.
And I'm at Keys to Victory.
I am at darkside _ Muay Thai _ on Instagram.
All right, and you can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. We are on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Look at that.
Look at that, indeed.
Yeah, that button's not working. Okay, anyway, shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, and the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group, all the other sites that are providing the stories we use on the show. Shout out to all of y'all. I think this was a great discussion today. I think this is a relevant one. We'll continue to follow the Jon Jones situation, and I hope for the best for his fiance, and I hope that we find healing for Jon Jones as well. And that is our show. So, on behalf of John Keys and George G Money Stallworth, my name is Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.